Hello there everyone and welcome back to the Project Knightfall series. We are here with phase 2 of Project Knightfall, and that is the landing pad. If you're new to this series, essentially what I'm doing here is I'm recreating parts from the classic Star Wars Battlefront 2, the 2005 version. I'm recreating parts from that map in order to recreate the cinematic from the campaign. So during the Rise of the Empire campaign in Star Wars Battlefront 2, there's a little cinematic that goes right before the Operation Nightfall mission, so I'm going to be recreating that little 30-ish second cinematic in stop motion, and in order to do that, I have to build all of the parts of the map that are actually in that cinematic. So that's what this series is all about. This has been a smaller series that I've been doing for like 3-ish months now. Phase 1 was the Jedi Temple Library, so I did a few update videos and a cinematic, so I'll put an info card to that right now. If you're curious as to where the large-scale Clone Wars MOC cinematic is, that is coming. Don't worry guys, I'm working hard on that. I want to make sure I do that video justice. I want to make sure I make it really good for you guys. I'm planning to get that out hopefully next week. I'm spending a lot of time on it, making sure it's as good as it can be. But in the meantime, I thought let's start Project Knightfall again. Let's get back into it. So we're going in right now with the landing pad. So in this episode, I get quite a lot done in terms of like the ground design and the floor for the actual kind of landing pad area. And then I talk about a few other things and I share some screenshots as well. Also, just real quick before we get started, if you're curious when I will be like starting the next large scale mock, that is like Project Knightfall is a very small, it's like a smaller series, so this is not my large scale build series. Now that the Clone Wars mock updates is wrapped, like those videos are wrapped up, I'll be announcing the next large scale mock here very soon. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get started on phase 2 of Project Knightfall, and hope you guys are excited and it's going to be a fun episode. So without any further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, so kind of like the last build in the Project Knightfall series, which was the library, I think I'm going to build this one with snot technique as well, which is stud snot on top. So essentially what that means here is I'm not going to be using a base plate for this build. I've got that right now just to kind of just to look at right now, but essentially I'm just going to do this all snot formation with that technique, so it'll just all be bricks laid sideways. Give it a nice smooth landing pad feel. So not really much to say in terms of planning because it's just kind of one big landing pad, but I will get onto that in the next clip and kind of show you guys my first designs for the actual landing pad ground. Alright, so I'll throw some reference pictures up on the screen while I'm talking about all this stuff, but essentially I'm starting to go about making the main design for the actual landing pad itself. So on the reference picture you kind of can see how there's almost like a bunch of different miniature kind of squares. I'll try to put a picture right now, but essentially what I went with those designs is it looks like it's primarily light gray and dark gray. So you can see down over here I've got these squares of just bricks, studs on top here, and got a clone trooper down there for reference, but essentially it's just a little 4-square part of light gray and dark gray, and they're kind of diagonally connected right there. And I've got a bunch of them laid out here overall. Now I'm trying to figure out how big I want this build to be because in the actual stop motion, the gunship is in the stop motion. So I don't want to make it super small because I don't want the gunship just to be as big as a landing pad. It needs to be a little bigger than the landing pad. So what I'm kind of thinking is, you can kind of see I've got the 2 rows right here. I'm thinking of possibly adding 2 more rows, either 1 or 2 more rows on that side. That should give it plenty of room for the gunship to kind of do what it's doing in the stop motion and not make it feel like a super small landing pad, but that's going to be a lot of pieces, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to make it that big. That is the goal at this point. So next step is kind of going through here and probably starting to figure out all the individual things that are going to connect all these larger squares. So that's probably the next thing I'm going to work on. Alright guys, so I went in and added a 3rd row back there, so now you can see I've got 3 rows here. I think I might need 1 more, but I'm starting to run a little low on parts, so I'm not too sure what I'm going to do there. I'm going to see if I can find any more parts and create a 4th row, but now the next big thing that's going to give me some problems here is I've got to figure out how to fill in all these gaps, and there's quite a lot of space to fill, so I have to look at the reference pictures again, but it looks like it's dark red. Now the problem is going to be I don't know if I have enough dark red to cover all of that. You can see I've started down here, so I might have to pick a different color other than dark red. I'm not too sure exactly what I'm going to do yet, but that's kind of what I'm going to try to figure out next. And here is what the platform looks like with the gunship on it for a size reference. So I'm actually very happy with this size. I think it's the landing pad, if I were to do it this large, is big enough to support a gunship. and still have a bunch of troops on the actual landing pad and make it seem large enough. So maybe I won't need a 4th row. Now that I'm kind of looking at it, I might just go ahead and try to go with 3 rows here, because I am pretty happy with the size of the gunship on the actual landing pad here, for when I actually have to do the stop motion. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. So I guess now, instead of trying to add a 4th row, I am actually, like I said in the previous segment here, going to go back in and try to figure out what to do with the little gaps in between each of these kind of squares that I've built so far. Alright guys, so I did a little bit more work on the landing pad here, and as you can see in the last segment, I was kind of talking about trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to do for like in between each of those kind of big square sections. So as you can see, I started to go through and decide what I wanted the like in between areas to look like. So you can see the design right there. It's essentially using a bunch of plates and kind of 1x2s, 1x1s, 1x4s, 1x6s, 1x8s, all sorts of different plate lengths to create this kind of cool wavy texture, and I put that in between each of the kind of squares right there, as you can see. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of space in between each one, in terms of how much space is going to be in between each one. And then you also can see I put some dark red plates as well, connecting everything, because in the actual game it does look like there is some kind of, of that Republic red kind of outlining some of the landing pad portions. And I was having a hard time kind of try to figure out what like the texture design was for the floor. Like when I looked at the screenshots and in the game, I was able to figure out what these squares looked like pretty accurately to what they look like in the game. All these in-between sections I really couldn't tell. As a bunch of different mixtures of colors, so that's kind of why I went with this texture for the middle design right there. So that's what I'm kind of going for right there. The next thing I got to figure out is what exactly I'm going to put in each of those little spots. Maybe I'll just do a similar design and kind of fill it in, but that's kind of what we're looking at right here. And then of course I got to go in and do it right through that gap too, and then we'll be okay there. So I'm going to work on that next, and then I got to figure out what exactly I'm going to put right there. I'm going to take a look at the reference images again, but for now, I just wanted to show you guys what exactly I came up with for what's going to go kind of in between landing pad. It's going to be kind of hard to tell right now because it's not fully built, but I'll get that second one built back there so I can kind of show you guys what it looks like overall. Alright guys, so I've now completed the second part up there. As you can see, I got that strip done, so now I've got those 2 strips done. The next step here is to go back in and try to figure out what I'm going to do for each of those individual spots. But now you can see the size of the landing pad and kind of what the different designs are going to look like. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do for in between here, but that'll probably be the next video segment up here in a couple of minutes here. But here's what it's looking like so far. I think it looks pretty good. I might have to go back in and fix some of those so they match a little bit more with this. You can see the shapes are a little different between those two, but overall, this is what we're looking at so far. Alright guys, so here's what I decided to go with for the rest of the landing pad here. You can see I had a bunch of little spots to fill in, and essentially what I did was I repeated the pattern that I already had going right here, where I kind of did these squares of dark gray and light gray. So I repeated those patterns all the way throughout the remaining empty spots in the landing pad, and this is what I have kind of come up with so far. You'll have to let me know in the comments kind of how you guys are feeling about this at the current time. I'm liking it. It's fairly accurate to what was actually in the game, in terms of like these squares in particular are supposed to be kind of this same way that are shown like kind of in the game. When I looked through screenshots and gameplay and stuff like that, I took some creative liberties with this middle part right there, but I tried the best I could of what I thought it looked good, and I'm pretty happy with it so far. And the size is good. I'll show you what the gunship looks like on it right now. So there's kind of what it looks like with the gunship on there as well. So the size is good. Again, I wanted it to be still big enough so the gunship could be there and scaled properly for the stop motion that I'm going to do for this. So happy with that. There's a few spots in the landing pad I'm going to touch up in particular. Some of this dark red over here in these different sections are kind of still up in the air, but overall I say pretty good. Happy with this episode of everything I got done. And essentially next episode, what's going to happen here is kind of in the back right there, there's like a bunch of these kind of Jedi temple pillar type things, and it's like the entrance to the actual map in the game. So that'll be the next step, is to work on these giant pillars in the back, and then there's like a little border around the whole wall with some like trees and plants and stuff like that. So that's going to be the next step for the next episode for this build series for Phase 2 of Project Knightfall. But for now, let me know what you guys think about the actual landing pad design itself. If you have any feedback or if you have any cool ideas on what I could add or improve on, I'm definitely looking for those, so leave those in the comment section below, and let's get on to the outro. Alright guys, so after some further examination on screenshots from the game, I have realized that I kind of messed up on one part here. So if you remember at the beginning of the episode, I had these little patches of squares where we had 4 squares right here, and then just recently I went in and added another line right there just to fill this in before the next square. So what I realized in the game was each square on the side is kind of marked off. So you can see I've got up top right here, I've got the dark red. It's almost like the dark red goes again all the way down this way to kind of mark off each square. So that's why something looked off, and I was like, what is it? And that's what it was. So since I added in this little extra pillar right here, it kind of threw off the look of all these squares. So what I want to do is essentially with these squares is have like a 1x1 dark red go up on the side right there, and then like over here go on this side right there. So you'll still have each square, and they'll be outlined all by dark red on like 2 sides of it, or 3 sides if you're this square. And then you'll still have this middle part right here, but it'll be like dark red will be built into it. It's kind of confusing, but I think I'll go into it next episode. The only problem is I don't think I have enough dark red to do that. So I either have to order some, or I've got to figure out some sort of other solution. So that's going to be for next episode. So if you're looking at the screenshots and you're like, yeah, Gavin, it doesn't really look like it's supposed to look like where are those squares? Because, you know, they're kind of supposed to be out, all these like pockets of 4 are supposed to be outlined in dark red. So I just kind of forgot that part. So I'm going to try to work on that for next episode. So I just wanted to add that in there because I realized I kind of messed up on that. But regardless, I still think it looks fine even if I don't fix it, but I want to go back in and try to find a solution if I can, so I can get that original kind of vibe that I was going for. But yep, just wanted to add that in there real quick before I went into the outro in case some of you guys were wondering why, you know, it doesn't look exactly like it did, because I just realized I forgot to add dark red to make it like an outline, so each of these squares is supposed to be outlined with dark red along the side. But again, probably confusing with me explaining it. I'll have to show it off next episode, so I just wanted to add that in real quick, and we'll get on to the outro. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you did enjoy. As always, leave your feedback in the comment section below on what you guys think about the landing pad design. Do you think it looks accurate enough for the game? From the screenshots that I showed. Hopefully I was able to show a good number of screenshots so you guys get an idea of what exactly it looks like in game. So leave some feedback if you can on what you think of the landing pad design, and then stay tuned for the next Project Knightfall video, which I'll be expanding on the landing pad. And that I don't know how many episodes I'm going to do for this landing pad phase. Might only be 2 or 3, I'm not too sure yet, but next video for next week I'm planning on getting the Clone Wars MOC cinematic video out. So that's going to be an awesome, epic, fun video. Really excited to get that out, but I'm taking my time making sure I do it justice and making sure I am able to create a good video for you guys. So stay tuned for that. I can't wait to post that. And if you're new to kind of this Project Knightfall series, I'll leave a playlist, either info card right now or in the description, and you can check out the previous phase, which was the Jedi Temple Library. I think I had 4 episodes of a build series on that, and then I had the cinematic video and a behind the scenes video. So that is all in the playlist if you are interested in checking that out. And I hope you guys have a great day, and may the Force be with you always.